Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today you are going head-to-head with your rival gang in the post-apocalypse, trying to outrun an unrelenting dust storm in Dustbiters. Dustbiters here is a tiny little game made up of 21 cards. That's it. That's everything that the game is. And you are going to be using those 21 cards in order to jockey for position on the table, trying to get your opponents to be the one to get swallowed up by the storm, while you survive, of course, utilizing your special abilities, your powers, and your smarts. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at how the game looks on the table, how it works. I'll see you on the other side for some final thoughts. To set up the game, we're going to shuffle up all the cards. We're going to play out from the deck 4 in the back of the line. This is where the storm is coming from over here. And those belong to the first player. That'll be me in this case. And then 4 in front of that belong to my opponent, facing them, as you can see here. Then we deal each player 4 cards. We set the rest of them aside in the deck here. And we are ready to begin. So I'll be the first player, of course. So on your turn, you are going to take 3 actions, and you have 4 different choices. You can repeat them if you want to. And at the end of those 3 actions, whichever vehicle is in the back here gets swallowed up by the storm and removed and discarded to the scrap heap. And so the 4 different actions I can do are, I can build, meaning I can take one vehicle from my hand, put it at the front of the line facing me. I can drive, meaning I can take one of mine and I can drive forward, taking the place of something else, or I could drive something backwards, like so. I can also draw a card from the deck, assuming there are any left there, or I can use the power of something. It has to have the little lightning symbol for it to be an activated power. Otherwise, it's just something that's always on. Okay? So on my turn, I already moved a couple of these, but whatever. Obviously, all the cards have powers, and they're all unique. So I'll just share with you these 4 in the back here. We have the Mind Manipulator at the very back that says, for 1 action total, use any enemy card's power as if that card is yours. The Jammer, however, is right next to it, and the Jammer says that any card next to the Jammer is disabled and functions as if it is a blank card. So this is blanked out. My ramp truck is blanked out right now. Move any other car to the front is what my ramp truck says. And then the ice cream van says that the car in front of the ice cream van can use its power without costing an action. And by the way, all of these powers, while you can do the same action more than once, like I said, each card you can only trigger their power once per turn. So I cannot ramp truck again unless something else lets me break that rule. So if this was actually the setup, I might, for example, for my 4 actions, I might move my Jammer back for 1 action to get it away from my ramp truck. I might then ramp and use the ability, move any other car to the front. I might ramp my Jammer all the way to the front, both so that it is protected from the storm and that it starts to mess with my opponent's powers. I'll do that. So that's 1, 2. I can then maybe do the Mind Manipulator for 1 action total. Use any enemy's car power as if that car is mine. I might do this Crusher, for example, that says destroy any car that is directly between the Crusher and one of your other cars. Great. So I treat the Crusher as if it's mine. The ice cream van is mine. I'm going to crush this hijacker. You got crushed. And we discard that, and then that was 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then at the end of that round, this is going to go away, taken out by the storm. And it is my opponent's turn to do something. So they might, play some new cards. They might put out this mortar bus out front. Maybe they will, I don't know, do this very thing here where they can move the Crusher back for 1. So 1 action, 2 to drive the Crusher, and 3 to crush the ice cream van between the Crusher and the horse. I don't know how that's going to work out, but that's what they're doing. And that's it. And then the storm takes my ramp truck. And then it comes back to me. And that's it. That's how the game works. You have very few cards that are actually left in the draw pile. So once those are gone, they're gone. You do not reshuffle the scrap heap. And you keep going until someone has no vehicles at all in the middle here. As soon as either player runs out of vehicles in the middle, then the other player, of course, is going to win. And that's all there is to it. That's the game. Obviously, again, I didn't show you every one of the cards or explain how they interact with one another, but hopefully that overview gives you an idea of what you're doing in the game. The game is a fairly straightforward concept, right? It's an easy game to understand in principle. Once you throw in all the special abilities, though, and how they interact with one another, it starts to get a little bit trickier, a little bit thinkier. This is a thinkier game than I was expecting it to be when I first saw it and sort of understood what was going on in the game. So let's break it down, starting from the top with the theme and the setting. I love it. I love post-apocalyptic settings, and this one is very over the top on top of that, right? So you've got all that stuff with the crazy vehicles and the insane Mad Maxian characters, but then, of course, ridiculous things like a dude riding a horse and supernatural crazy stuff, and one of them is being driven by an actual monkey, one of these vehicles that he can drive, you know? So I love the theme, again, and I just love what's going on in the game. It's funny, it's wild, I dig it. The aesthetics. Excellent card quality, very good, great printing, you know, the package is small but efficient, and the game has a very short rule book, but everything you really need is in there. And then the artwork on top of that, I think, is superb. It's beautiful artwork, really well done. I love the way this game looks. The replay value is very high. And the reason for that, even though it is 21 cards, is because this is a lot of emerging gameplay. The more you play this game, the more you understand it and recognize what's going on and get to know the cards and get to know the meta game, right? The game that develops from game to game to game. The things you can do, and this will be an interesting one, especially if you play with the same opponent a lot. So I think the replayability here is actually quite high. You'll eventually know, if you play enough, these 21 cards. It's manageable in a game like this. And you'll know what to watch out for, what's still coming, what your opponent might still be holding or is in the deck. That's very clever. It works really well. It's neat. Was a surprising thing to me, you know, that it evolves as much as it does for being just 21 little cards. The game arc is good. Sometimes it feels like an all-out war, this game, where you are just pummeling your opponent, dragging them back and, you know, catapulting them and throwing bombs at them and all sorts of crazy stuff. And then sometimes it's this war of attrition, which is very important. You cannot ignore simply being able to outpace your opponent by having more cards than they do. That's a big part of the game, right? Having the ability to, if the game does sort of start going to attrition, no one can be eliminated, you know, fairly early, then you have to be able to play cards just to outpace your opponent so that because when the deck is gone, it's gone. If they have nothing new to play, you'll just outpace them that way. That's apparent. It's right there on the surface. You will know it if you play one time. And then it becomes that dichotomy between, do I keep the people on the board alive or draw more cards and play the quote-unquote long game, which is not very long, but I'm going to call it that. You know, shoot for that end game. The ease of play. It takes a little getting used to. It's easy, but it does take a little getting used to. I think the interpretations of the cards are well done. I think the cards are well written, okay? There's no breakdown of every card in the rule book. I could see it not really being needed. You need to take everything at face value for what it says. So you shouldn't have to jump through any logistical hoops to understand what a card does and what it means, you know? But you do have to get used to a little bit to reading the cards upside down. And until you know the deck well, having just a card that says, you know, when it's upside down, so Spiky over here says, can drive backwards, destroy the card in front of Spiky. At the top of the card, upside down, is the word Spiky printed there. But of course, And that's fine. It's a cute touch. Until I know the deck that well, I'm just going to have to read the text backwards or upside down or ask my opponent what it says, right? So it takes a little getting used to. It's not bad. I can't think of a fix that would be better than this, so it's fine. I think the game is pretty easy. And then lastly, tactics, luck, strategy. There's a little bit of luck with the original setup and, of course, the cards you are dealt. It is a card game. It's also short. 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. But it's a nice balance between tactics, like I said, and strategy. Getting what you need out there, putting it in a convenient place, using your 3 actions, and getting the most you can out of those to hurt your opponent, to really put some pressure on them so that they have to hopefully not be efficient, right? Drawing those cards to prepare for the end game if it goes that long. Stealing their powers and just, I mean, again, every single card in this game is different, and you will continue to discover interesting combinations that let you do neat things. There's one card, I think you saw, that lets you, use the one in front of it for free without spending one of your actions if it does an action. That's very powerful. But all of them are very powerful. The combinations, the one that shuts something down. There's the mimic that copies something. There's all these things that all do interesting, quirky things. And how you put them together is where the game's at. That's how you make the sauce, right? So you got to react, but you got to plan ahead. I like that. So there you go. That is it. That is Dustbiters. This is one that was a Kickstarter. I was charmed by it, backed it. It's not cheap, or it wasn't cheap when I got it from Kickstarter. That's one of my hits against it, is that I think the game could have been produced for less. I don't know, but it was a fairly expensive game for being 21 cards and a little rule book. But I enjoy the game. I think it's really a sharp little package. It's obvious that they play tested this a lot. It gives me a joyous feeling. It's puzzly. It's actually a quieter game than you might think it is from looking at the insane artwork and wild kooky powers. It's thinkier than that. And if you get into that and playing with the same person a lot, I think you're going to have a good old time with this one. So that is Dustbiters again. This is going to get an 8 out of 10 from me. That is a seal of approval. And if you're into the apocalypse, or the post-apocalypse, I guess I should say, you're going to want to check out some Dustbiters, 2-player game of wrecking your opponent, letting that storm do the work for you, really. So there you go, everybody. Thanks very much for checking this out with me. My name is Zee Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.